Nintendo stuff. Separated by cosmic cabinets, Brandon and Logan are broadcasting Nintendo stuff live using their telepathic powers. My name is Brandon Miracle, broadcasting here from the Break Room Arcade. If you look south of me in the video version, you'll see the wonderful Logan Welliver once again wearing the fabled Pokemon shirt.
Yeah, this one was very intentional. Also, I did my laundry before I left for this weekend, so I have a bunch of clean clothes. So I had my pick of many shirts.
I also know about clean because my entire house from top to bottom has been cleaned, and it feels great.
Man, it does feel good to have a clean living space. So I'm
really
proud of
does.
you.
Thank you. I got to thank you. You helped me clean the studio.
I did. I take great pride in helping my friends clean their spaces.
I ended up vacuuming it and doing a little bit more organizing in here. Packed up the green screen because it's just obnoxious. It takes up too much space. A couple more things I want to do in this room before I call it done, but for now it's at least operable and I can work in it.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of Nintendo, it's been a few weeks since we've done the show. 2 weekends ago, I was busy in the midst of taking care of this house, and then last weekend, or the most recent weekend, Logan, you were out of town.
Well, out of my town, but in your town, just not with you.
Yes. So ultimately, we just didn't have time to do podcasts for a couple weeks, but we're back. And great timing, too. I know we don't typically do this on Tuesdays, but we have good reason. And that's because there is a Nintendo Direct happening not Thursday, tomorrow. There is a Direct happening tomorrow.
The joke, I would have made it.
Yeah, so I saw the Direct announcement right at 9 because I was in my phone and I'm subscribed to Nintendo notifications on Twitter. So I saw the notification drop down. And I was like, yes! I posted it in the Discord. Didn't even look at the date. I just assumed it was on Thursday, only to then find out from you later that it's actually tomorrow.
It's like, yeah, that's the 4th is tomorrow, Brandon.
Well, it's
really confused.
Greater news for me. That just means the Direct got a whole day sooner.
Right.
So before we talk about the Direct itself, there is 2 pieces of Smash Brothers news I want to talk about. That I guess would be related to the Direct, or we can talk about how they might relate to the Direct. One of them being, there is a promotion going on at 7-Eleven in Japan, and for those of you who don't know, 7-Eleven is a lot different in Japan than it is here in the States. You actually can buy video games and stuff at 7-Eleven, much bigger deal. That said, for Hero, they had a poster advertising that Hero was going to be out, and it had an end date. For somewhere in the middle of the month, and Hero ended up dropping just a few days before that poster was supposed to be taken down. And now we have a new display up for BanjoKazooie, which is supposed to be up until September 15th, which means that Banjo could be coming out this week or possibly even next week. But if the pattern stands, it should be out before the 15th.
Well, good. Oh man. It just makes me so much more excited. With Hero, it's kind of like it came and went. I played with Hero, and I was like, oh well, I'm really, this is different than I was expecting. I'm enjoying it a lot more. But Banjo is something that I think a lot of people in the West are really, really anticipating, including myself.
That personal connection with the character.
Yeah, so I'm very much anticipating this, and I'm very excited for it.
I want to quickly say hello to everybody in the chat. We've got lots of faces here. We got Dream Drop, we got Adrian, we got Sandman, we got Benjamin, Mooseman. Is that Rafdiel? I don't know if I'm saying that right. And X the Man finally had time to listen live, as well as Brandon the Stallion. Thanks for checking us out, guys. It's always a pleasure to have you here. So yeah. In regards to Banjo, I have a feeling if Banjo's coming out this week, it'll probably be addressed in the Direct. Otherwise, Sakurai is going to do another standalone video release like they did with Joker and Hero. Though he probably will not have a budget again, and maybe he'll try that live stream thing, which I personally really enjoyed. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it was fun just being able to it was very personable. and then just walking through the character and yeah, no, I thought the style of presentation they went with, even with no budget, was great. I thought
Yeah.
it was perfectly. I thought it was more than acceptable.
For all we know, maybe we'll get like 10 minutes of Sakurai doing that just in the direct itself, if Banjo comes out this week. But if not, that just means we have even more to look forward to with Nintendo this month. I mean, this month is
Right.
packed as it is. Like, I've had to make decisions about what games I'm going to buy and what games I'm not, just simply because I can't get them all. So the other piece of Smash Brothers news, and this goes in the rumor category, pertains to the next DLC fighter. If you do not want to be potentially spoiled on this, I'd suggest maybe tuning out for the next minute or two. So with that warning out of the way, Nintendo of UK, their eShop has a listing for Challenger Pack number 4. And it doesn't specifically say any characters or anything, but the part that's noteworthy, and this comes from at New Wabi Sabi on Twitter, they're the ones who discovered this, it has a copyright tag for SNK Corporation, which is famed for their fighting games. So I guess it's a pretty safe bet that an SNK fighter will be joining the roster here next.
Yeah, this one will be interesting if this really is the case, because we kind of were having discussion within the Discord, hashtag join our Discord in the description below. But we were having discussions about this, and I was kind of like, I don't know, like SNK properties, right? I know SNK has been around for a minute, but nothing comes to mind for me, when this kind of thing happens, which I guess makes it a little bit more exciting, because oh, here's some characters that I never considered
Yeah.
would be making their way into Smash, that probably have a good legacy about them.
This is your gateway into those characters. Like,
Yeah.
that's what Smash is for a lot of people. That said, the going rumor right now is that the character joining the roster will be Terry Bogard from Fatal Fury, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm also not as familiar with SNK. They are also responsible for the Metal Slug series, and I think they had a part in the original Bubble Bobble, which I don't believe they are connected with anymore. That said, I guess it could be Bub and Bob, but I'm going to go ahead and say that's probably not likely. Another series that they're involved in is one that has a lot of buzz right now, being Samurai Showdown, which has a port coming to Switch. So, if you ask me, it's either going to be Terry Bogard or it's going to be a character from Sam Show to promote that game. But as far as familiarity with SNK, that's about as far as it goes for me. Moose Man in the chat says, I'm feeling that Nintendo is just trying to throw us off by faking the SNK leak. Wouldn't that be something?
That would be a baller move by Nintendo to just throw us off like that. Like, have a actual fake leak, oh yeah, we accidentally put SNK in there instead of somebody else, and then maybe maybe they could be doing it where SNK is there is a character coming, but it's the 5th character instead of the
not
4th
the next
character. Yeah.
It is on Challenger Pack 4's page.
Well, yeah, but how easy would it be to change images?
That's
throw an
true.
SNK logo up there and be like, "Oops, I'm gonna take that down and replace it." When it's time.
So I'm pretty much convinced that this is happening, given that this was found on Nintendo UK's website, and we just had a direct announced. The timing is too good. And to have a strict copyright from SNK is pretty, you kind of have to take it for what it is. So I imagine that we will be seeing this fighter revealed in this coming direct. I've been saying for a while that I felt that the next character reveal would be right around now, right on the cusp of the fall season, because then that leaves the final character reveal for sometime in the winter, where I personally believe it will be at the Game Awards. perfect bookend because the first character was revealed at the Game Awards, and then we have the last one revealed at the Game Awards.
Yeah, and then that's, by February 2020. So,
That
um,
that does leave a big gap in Smash news from now until then, though.
yeah, but like, there's a million other things. I mean,
Oh, sure, of course.
even in this direct, like they've already laid out like two of the main things that they're talking about. That being Luigi's Mansion and Pokemon, which those are two pretty big titles here coming out within the next like 3 months, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
something like
we
that.
can just swing right into that. I want to kind of touch on Luigi's Mansion 3 first. I'm honestly surprised that this game is getting, more of the focus in another direct because I feel like we already know so much about the game. They could have just sold it and I would have bought it.
Yeah, it seems strange that this year isn't the year of Luigi, considering this is like really like Luigi's game as opposed to like Super Luigi U on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
like
Dark
this,
Moon came out that year too.
no, certainly. But after like Dark Moon felt like in a lot of ways an experiment, because again they had one game in the franchise and they're like, hey, maybe we should make another one, and we're gonna give it to Next Level Games and see what they can do with it.
They
And
put it on a portable
um,
device.
yeah, so it seems like they were willing to take some risks with the IP, but obviously it has enough mainstay power, enough staying power that people are like, hey, yeah, okay, we're getting the third one. It looks like they're putting a lot more work into it, and it looks really exciting. And I know one of the things I plan on doing once I move is I'm gonna play through the original Luigi's Mansion, which is something I've never done.
Yeah, you're going to have a good time with that. Uh as far as what they'll show in the direct, like I said, I don't really know what else there could be. It feels like the game's so full already, unless they want to like expand on maybe some multiplayer features that we don't know about yet. I mean, the full
Mm-hmm.
game has co-op, and then there's 8-player local and online multiplayer with a Scarescraper. Maybe there's some specific modes they want to dish into a little bit. Because I feel
Right.
like I know enough about the campaign to where, I would just be happy waiting for the game to come out and then discover all that for myself. Uh, so because of that, I'm honestly not happy that this game is in the direct or that they're like putting it at the forefront because I'm already just ready to buy it.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. But also, Brendan, you're not the only one watching the direct.
I know it's not catered to me specifically.
But
Uh,
I feel the same. There's a lot of times like I mean, even with like Fire Emblem, it's at a certain point I just stopped paying attention to all of the promotional material because I knew I was gonna buy it and I was gonna play it. So it's like, okay, just let me discover it as I'm playing it, because like there's something beautiful about being like completely ignorant, going into an experience.
yeah, and like at PAX, I think they even revealed a new floor of the mansion and showed some of that off, and I'm like, I mean, you've already showed us so much. Uh, don't show us the entirety of the campaign, please. Just let it happen.
Right.
Uh, Nintendo themselves has been a little bit spoilery in some of their other games, like with Fire Emblem Three Houses. I won't talk about that specifically because I don't think you're there in the game yet, but they were open about that in the advertising.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe don't do that. uh, and there's one piece of news regarding Pokemon I want to talk about before we get into our direct predictions specifically. And
Mhm.
this kind of is close to my heart. I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of the Pokemon anime. Specifically, a
Mhm.
lot of the older stuff. I try and tune in every once in a while these days. My wife likes to watch the anime up to date. And the Sun and Moon anime is approaching its end. We know that Ash is currently taking part in the league, and it looks like, based on the anime intro, he might actually win this time or face off against the champion,
Mhm.
which would indicate that he had won the league. But the reason I say this is because the anime folks have always said that Ash will never win a league until they're ready to wrap the anime up.
Yeah.
And earlier this week, Pokemon made an announcement that a brand new anime series will be revealed on September 29th, and it will be a reboot of the franchise. It's not going
Oh.
to specifically be a Sword and Shield anime. It's an anime that will just be called Pocket Monsters and will cover every region of the series and have all the Pokemon in it.
Oh.
So it's
So
a
do you think Ash's adventures are almost done?
I think we're going to say goodbye to Ash and Pikachu at the end of this season.
Wow, that would be a an interesting shift for the anime.
Yeah. I
Cause
mean, its
like,
entire legacy has had Ash and Pikachu.
yeah,
We don't specifically have the details yet. Like I said, those aren't being revealed until the 29th. But there is the possibility that they will turn this anime into a follow-up to the reboot film franchise that they started with Pokemon I Choose You and then followed up with The Power of Us, which does
right,
feature Ash and Pikachu with a, rewritten story. So I could see them maybe taking that approach, keeping the characters, but then following that universe rather than the one we're used to.
right,
Because they can really just do whatever they want with it at that point, because there's not much set in stone in that universe.
for sure. That's exciting. It almost makes me like, cause I never was like a big watcher of the anime. Obviously, I've watched some of like the really early episodes, um, and obviously there's some classic moments. But I've never, generation after generation. Here's a new iteration of the anime. I've never actually went through and watched all of it. So maybe because it's coming to an end of sorts, like it might be good to go back and just, that might be something on my list now. I don't know how many episodes that is, like in all.
A lot.
Um, yeah. But now that I know that it's coming to an end, and there's going to be a stopping point, this might be the time to jump in.
Well,
I
I
don't
mean, if
know.
you ever want to watch it, I have the entirety of the anime from the beginning all the way through to the end of Generation 3,
Good, good.
which is like probably where I would stop watching personally. um, it's just so interesting too, because like they took a really radical new direction with the Sun and Moon anime, both from a visual standpoint and just by sheer fact that Ash wasn't really participating in the league so much as he was just a student at the school. Uh,
Right.
so like they were already experimenting with the anime. So to find out that they're completely ditching the anime now and trying something new, it's kind of exciting. A little sad at the same time because it's been such a big part of my life for so long. But I'm open to new.
I wonder how they'll end it. Like,
They gotta let him win, man. This is his last chance.
right. I was, maybe I won't go there.
Oh, that's a. Are you going the morbid route?
Just kill Ash off.
He's already died once
Yeah, but he came back, so it doesn't really count.
in the span of like 5 minutes too. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up because it's something that's kind of personal to me, and
Yeah.
it's really odd for the Pokemon world. That said, we can head on over back to the Nintendo Direct, and since we're on the topic of Pokemon, we can just talk about Sword and Shield and what we expect to be revealed or talked about. Do you have any thoughts on what they might show?
Um, my first prediction is that we will not see F-Zero this time around.
That's a great
I just don't
Pokemon
think
Sword and Shield prediction.
yeah, I think we'll see Pokemon Sword and Shield. I have a good feeling that we'll see that.
I mean, they
There's
told
like
us
some
we would.
spooky, scary like mansion game that
Yeah,
like features some Mario character as
I think
well
they've
that
said
I've
something about that too.
yeah, something like that. Um I was thinking about this a little bit earlier, and so I've been playing a lot of Doom recently. So I played the original Doom, and then I bought Doom 2 because it's like essentially more of the same, uh,
Yeah,
except a little bit more ambitious in terms of its level structure and adding new features here and there. But there have been like listings going around on classification boards, like the Australian classification boards for like Doom 64.
Yeah, I saw that.
Um, and so I feel um, like I know that Doom and Doom 2 and Doom 3 were like kind of shadow dropped on the Switch. And then also, some of these other consoles. But I feel like if they bring Doom 64, I feel like that's something that they could feature at least a little bit, like in a direct. And I feel like it's pretty close by if we're getting those ratings out there. So I feel like we might get. I think there's a possibility we could get an announcement in the direct for that, just because like
Yeah,
it's Doom 64.
yeah, that's a good
Um,
place for it.
and I would also really appreciate that because I have no like frame of reference for Doom 64. But
I've heard
again,
it's good.
yeah, I mean, I would hope so. But yeah, working through the Doom series as I have as of late, like first starting with like Doom 2016 a few months ago, and just thoroughly enjoying that experience, and then getting a chance to play the classic Doom, and also being like, whoa, this has aged really well. Um,
Oh yeah, like we had a blast playing like the co-op in the versus mode too.
yeah, like the fact that they just have full on like 4-player like cooperative that you can literally just play through all of the levels. And then you can also just pick any of the maps and play competitive like deathmatch. Um, it's it's really solid.
Yeah, it
It's a
was a
really
riot.
good, yeah. And the game's only $5 on the eShop too. Same with Doom 2. Um, yeah, so certainly worth our time, and I'm looking forward to Doom Eternal. Probably when does Doom Eternal come out?
It's before the end of the year, isn't it?
Okay. um
I think it's 2019.
okay, well, maybe we'll hear something a little bit about that as well.
Wouldn't it be
uh
awesome if they gave us news about Doom Eternal in a Nintendo Direct?
yeah, it would be cool. um in terms of like other Nintendo related stuff, I'm really at a loss. Maybe we might hear more about the previously working title of Town, uh, especially since we got some things here like some trademarks or something like that registered
Yeah, that makes sense.
for what the final thing might be. And I'm again more Game Freak, please. There's a possibility, I would imagine, that it might not be there just because of Pokemon
Mm-hmm.
being there, and I'm not sure how many other big games they're going to fit in there and really talk about. Like, I would really like to hear more about Animal Crossing, but there's a part of me that thinks it's just going to be missing, and then they'll go really hard with like the next direct, in
Yeah,
a few
I feel
months.
like it's too busy, or not too busy. I think it's too early for Animal Crossing because they could just talk
Right.
about that in their holiday direct.
Correct. Yeah. And again, like they have like two bigger titles already laid out. Though I can't imagine that they would be the only big titles. I feel like there has to be at least one more that
Well,
they're really gonna dig
I'm
into. Maybe something, maybe like a teaser, maybe something that's not gonna be like released by the end of this year.
I'm glad you bring that up because Nintendo has been doing something recently with their directs and following a pretty strict standard
Hmm.
where they open a direct with a game, a first party reveal game, and then halfway through the direct, they cover a game we already know about that's a big first party game. And at the end of the direct, they one more thing you with one more first party announcement of some kind.
Right.
So by that standard, we could expect the middle games to be Pokemon and Luigi's Mansion because they told us about them. But I have a theory on what the first announcement will be, and I don't think it'll be a new game. I think it will be a DLC reveal for Super Mario Maker 2. Because, we're a few months out. The game still hasn't gotten that multiplayer with friends update, which we know
Yeah,
is coming, and we still know there's got to at least be one more game style that we don't have yet.
I would. That would be really dope. I'd be so down with that. Considering I don't have a copy of Super Mario Maker 2 myself, and there's so many other games releasing, it would be nice to get a little more content that would really entice me to spend that $60, you know.
It's a perfect
Um,
time for it too. Like it's a
yeah.
fall season. Release it before the holidays, so it's there. So new Switch owners will have it at launch, or at launch for them rather.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So that's how I see the direct opening personally.
I think that makes sense. Especially like, Super Mario Maker 2. I have, friends and siblings who work in retail, deal with that kind of stuff. And Super Mario Maker 2 is still, something that sells out. Like they have to keep ordering more copies. Um, so certainly adding more content would be fantastic. And obviously we've been talking about this since the game's release. Like we always want more.
Yeah.
So please give us more. Obviously they've talked about uh where's that online play with friends, because that would be a really big thing for me as well. It would be um yeah,
They
give me
told us it was
give me that
coming. We're still
functionality.
waiting. As far as how the direct will end, I'm pretty sure that's just going to be your Smash Fighter 4 reveal. If
Mhm.
not, you can flip those two because it's gonna go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and as far as like first party announcements, that's really all I'm anticipating. I don't expect there to be any like new games coming out in 2019 from Nintendo that we don't already know about, unless it's
Yeah.
like, or I should say Nintendo developed. I think we know the lineup for the rest of the year from a first party standard. But that doesn't mean that there can't be a Mario game developed by another company coming to the Switch before the end of the year. And that company is Camelot, and the game is Mario Golf. Because I think it's time for that.
Didn't When did we get Mario Tennis Aces? Was that earlier this year or last year?
It was last year.
Oh wow.
It has been a long time. At least I'm pretty
There's a
sure.
part of me that just wants a new Mario Tennis.
Tennis Aces came out in June of 2018.
Oh man. Yeah, it kind of came and went. Like obviously we've talked about this before, like what I want out of my Mario Tennis. um and
Yes.
we still haven't quite gotten it since, like the GBA game. But I digress. Nintendo gonna get on it, please. Um, Mario Golf. I could see it. Uh, I would prefer if we got Mario Strikers. But I also know that's next level, isn't it?
Yeah. So if that did happen, it would probably be developed by another company.
Right. Mario Golf's all right. I could go for another Mario Golf. I had a copy of Mario Golf World Tour for the 3DS, and then I very promptly like misplaced it and lost it. Like I still have the
Like right after
uh,
buying it.
well, it wasn't like right after buying it, but at a certain point it just got lost, and it just never phased me. I still have like the case. I just don't know where the game is.
That's so sad.
I know.
Mario Golf Toadstool Tour on GameCube is one of my favorite Mario sports games of all time. Uh,
Yeah.
really
It
solid
just
game,
needs
and
to
it's
be
gonna miss
less
that.
generic, right? Because like in recent years, like they have like these sports games have been pretty generic, and I think they took some steps with Mario Tennis Aces for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I would certainly hope there's more to it than just grass fields and stuff like that. The Toadstool Tour
right.
had some really fun courses.
Right.
And I think they put all of them in Mario Tennis or not Mario Tennis, in Mario Golf World Tour.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were all playable in that game as DLC.
Oh, I didn't get that far in the game.
I think the game cost $20 or $30, and then it was 20 or $30 for the DLC, getting you up to a full price game.
Right.
It was kind of a fair
Okay.
deal.
Yeah.
Any more predictions for you?
Um, I imagine there will be some space for some indies. Uh, I know Ori and the Blind Forest was already revealed, and I'm not sure they would touch on that again. If anything, maybe like a quick like flash, like a
Sizzle reel.
refresher. Just hey, this is coming out pretty soon. Um, I can see that. But it's hard to determine. They got 40 minutes to fill, you know.
That's a lot of space.
So my mind certainly hasn't been thinking a ton about video games, like this past weekend, being as busy with other things as I was. So I'd be, but maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need the ignorance to really enjoy this direct, and maybe I'll have a lot to say come the next podcast or the next discussion. Maybe we might have to just do a impromptu discussion of the presentation itself. uh we'll see about that. But in terms of actual predictions, I don't know. I really don't know. Obviously there are the things that I say every time, but I already wrote off F-Zero for this time around, and I feel pretty confident about that
Yeah.
that like negative prediction. um and like outside of the other things that are coming out, like Pokemon's always a fun thing, but like also I haven't finished like the last two games in the series, even though I've had access to both of them. And so like there are other things that keep me from enjoying games, so I'm like, oh man, I still have so much on my plate as is, that there's like only so much room to be excited about like something like Pokemon. For myself personally, like I'm honestly more really excited to play through Luigi's Mansion 3 than I am to play through uh Pokemon Sword and Shield, partially because it's coming out sooner, and then partially because I know that like I'll probably sit down and actually play through the entirety of that game, whereas I don't feel as confident that I'll actually play through Sword and Shield, given my track record.
Yeah, I mean that makes
um,
sense.
and then of course, Animal Crossing is right on the horizon. So a lot of my hype has already been like set aside for just that. Um, and then again, like the Switch has so much going for it, right? Like this like the other weekend with the Tetris 99, like then another Maximus Cup, another custom theme for Fire Emblem Three Houses, which I finally got around to playing some of that, and I finally got like a theme, so that's cool. And then I've been playing through the Doom games, which are super cheap and a lot of fun. And you can play through them, for a few hours. So I don't know. What would Nintendo talk about? How much third party stuff are they
Ports.
going to talk about?
Ports. There's got to be a few
Yeah,
more down the line.
I would imagine, and like, man, I'm so not upset about just tons of ports. Obviously, getting ports of older games that I've never played is a huge thing. Like, I don't buy older games that can run on any console, right? I buy them on my Switch.
I
um
have a feeling
so
3D World is probably the next one they'll talk about.
ooh, 3D World, that's a tough one. I'm not sure that we'll actually get 3D World like a port. I what else could we get ported from the Wii U that they
Pikmin
haven't
3.
total? Come again?
Excuse me, I'm eating dinner. Pikmin
Okay.
3.
Oh, I didn't hear that again. I was talking.
Pikmin 3.
Oh, where's Pikmin 4?
I don't expect it until after Pikmin 3.
Probably, but no, I think Pikmin 3 would be a good choice because probably not enough people played through that. I would also just love to get ports of Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2. That would also be pretty dope.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's probably going to happen at some point. Maybe not in this
yeah.
direct.
Uh, but man, I'm having a really hard time thinking about what else they're gonna show off. I guess that's just gonna make the direct all that much better for me.
Do you think it's
So
time for Bayonetta 3, or are we still going to be waiting on that one?
I think that's a 2020 thing. I think we might. I think there's a chance we could see it. Because I don't think they'll strictly keep to 2019 titles.
I hope not.
And so I think there will be some 2020 in there. Though I think they will save a lot of 2020 for like the last direct of the year. Maybe in November or December. Yeah.
I'm just going to throw this out there that if Banjo's coming to Smash in this direct and we get info on that, I think they might announce support of Rare Replay. And if not that, a port of just digital only ports of Banjo's 1 and 2.
Either of those would be welcome. That seems like a smart play for Microsoft, especially since those, Banjo's kind of been on the DL for so long. But again, now he's coming to Smash. Like, why would you not capitalize on that with, more content that you could sell? And to a bunch of ravenous Nintendo fans, like selling them Banjo again would be super smart. I would love to get Rare Replay because there are so many other games in the collection that I'd like to play. But I could also see them just releasing Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie as well. Either way, I still need to play through those games. So please, Microsoft, do what's good for us.
uh, One thing that Stealth for 40K on Twitter noted is that Soraya Saga has retweeted the Nintendo Direct, and they're involved with Monolith Soft. And he's mentioned that she hasn't retweeted any directs lately that haven't had Xenoblade news in them of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a possibility we could see a port of Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade X, or possibly even the announcement of Xenoblade 3, because we know that they're working on something.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I think I'd be more excited for a port of Xenoblade Chronicles than I would be for Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Because one, like, you either have to play that game on the 3DS, or you have to have either a digital copy on your Wii U, or just have like one of the few physical copies out there. And because Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was such a success, I would hope that, they would give other people the chance to play through Xenoblade Chronicles, which is something that I never actually finished. I've had like quite a few hours in that game, but I never finished that game. So yes, that would probably be the most exciting port to me, is give us the original Xenoblade Chronicles.
I mean, I'd be cool if it was just a port, and I'd probably get it so I could play through it too, but in my heart, I think I'd like a remake for that game, because that game has not aged well from a visual standpoint. It has in some ways, and not so much in others, like the character models and whatnot.
So would you want to remake, like, with new character models and such?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, and I don't necessarily want them to use like the cel-shaded look from Xenoblade 2. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but that'd be a departure from the original art direction for that game. But like
Right.
Shulk is a character in Xenoblade 2 in one of the DLCs, so they have like a new updated model for him.
Right. Well, and then like they also have him, what he looks like in Smash, He looks
That's true.
better in Smash than he does in the original game.
Yeah, so like I think I think it could definitely stand for an upgrade to its looks. And Monolith Soft clearly likes their games looking nice, given the amount of detail that they put into them. So I think they'd
And
be motivated.
not to mention helping with graphics for numerous other Nintendo titles.
Yeah, I mean, including Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, given her track record, I think it's a pretty safe bet that there might be something Xenoblade related, if not just something else that she happens to be working on.
Mm-hmm.
As far as other ports, or I can't really comment on third parties because obviously that's always just kind of a, hey, guess what, you know.
Yeah.
Capcom is revealing something at TGS later this week, and they've claimed it's not the new Resident Evil game. I thought maybe this could be an announcement of Ace Attorney 4 through 6 coming to Switch as a new trilogy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if it happens at TGS, clearly it's not going to happen at the Direct, so
Right.
can't say for sure. There could be a new Ace Attorney that could be coming to TGS, which would be good to see, though I haven't played 4 through 6, so I'm very behind on the plot.
I still have to play through one to three. I've played through a good chunk of the first one. I think it was on an emulator. But then I also bought the trilogy on my Switch, and I just haven't gotten around to playing through it.
Such a good time. Definitely a good game just to lay in bed with.
Yeah, especially like kind of more puzzle oriented, really trying to figure out like the logic and sift through the evidence. Like I was really enjoying the first game for as much as I've played.
And
So
then I think that's it pretty much for direct predictions. Like you've been saying, this is kind of a wild card because the only rumors we've ever really had recently have just been related to Smash Brothers.
yeah.
You know, we haven't heard anyone saying Metroid Prime Trilogy and things like that. So it's kind of a blank slate.
Yeah, and I think like the premise of like, okay, we're focusing on like end of the year games. There's we already have kind of an outline of what Nintendo is going to be releasing, and it's hard to figure out like if there's really much to fit in between those spaces.
Yeah, we only have 3 months left of the year.
Which is kind of why I started out jokingly saying like we're not going to see F-Zero.
Or 4
Because
months, rather.
I feel like in a lot of ways, if they do pull out any surprises, that they will be very surprising. You
Yeah.
know,
I'm expecting most of the surprises to probably be DLC for games that we already have.
yeah. That being said, I'll make a prediction about how good this direct is going to be. I think this will be at the very least a solid B. And I think that's probably above expectations. I think that's probably higher than average. I think more people will be, uh, relatively disappointed, even though I think the direct will probably be really solid. And necessary and something that I definitely want at this point. So Nintendo, uh, don't hesitate to really pull out some stops if you got something really special. Because I'm not expecting too much, but if there's one or two things that surprises me, I will be a very happy boy.
And, I mean, we've talked about this before, even earlier in this episode. Nintendo has figured out their direct strategy, how they present information, in what order, and just how they do it to maximize, fan reaction. So I feel like we're at this point now, especially like the early years of directs. There were lots of directs every year, like sometimes 6, 7, or 8, and here we are only getting 4 or 5 major main directs a year. So like clearly they're down to a schedule. They know to kind of hold back until they have enough to talk about, and then really put on a good show. So
Yeah.
I'm expecting some stuff to really make us happy tomorrow.
Yeah, I think at this point, like Nintendo's really nailed it. Like they've had a few years of directs under their belt, trying to figure out like what's the right way to release this information now that we have more freedom to release the information on our own time schedule and as we please. And I think they've kind of got in a flow. So I feel like directs on average are just that much better than they have been.
Yeah, for sure. Um, in addition to that, we can move away from the direct now, talk a little bit about what's been happening since we've been gone. One of them is we got an official trailer for Mario Kart Tour. I don't know if you've gotten time to take a peek at that yet.
I did.
You okay?
Yeah, I just touched a very hot pan.
Please don't swear on my show.
I know, but when you touch a very hot pan, I don't know what you want me to do about it. That's like a really, genuine reaction.
Okay.
Myself.
So Mario Kart Tour is actually surprising me quite a bit with that trailer. They've got special items from Mario Kart Double Dash. Looks like they were lifted just right from that game. We have tracks from the series thus far. We have new tracks that will be cycled out every couple of weeks based on real-life cities.
Oh. I think I missed that part.
Yeah, it's where the name comes from.
Okay, that makes sense.
In addition to that, you will also be able to get costumes for your characters. They showed Mario wearing one of the band outfits from Super Mario Odyssey. You know, like the red suit and the white hat.
Mm-hmm.
They showed Peach wearing a kimono. So I think there's going to be a fair amount of costumes for every character that you can unlock.
Right.
And that's cool. In fact, these are kind of features I'd like to have in a main Mario Kart game.
Well, I mean, maybe Nintendo has experimented in different ways with different franchises, especially having like home consoles and mobile consoles. And so maybe this is like a similar thing where they can experiment with a lot of ideas on mobile games, and then hopefully some of those aspects can make it over to like the main series on Switch and future consoles.
Yeah, I guess that's true. This could be indicating some of the things we might expect from a Mario Kart 9. Not that I think we're getting that anytime soon, but, the point stands. So yeah, this comes out sometime at the end of this month, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already pre-registered. Comes out September 25th. I'm actually pretty dang excited for Mario Kart Tour in a way that I wasn't expecting to be.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of had the mindset of it'll come out and I'll probably play it and I'll decide then, because I know it's not going to cost any money to start playing it.
Right.
And honestly, like of all of the things that Nintendo has released, like I'm still playing Dr. Mario World. And there's like they have events every once in a while. They have an event going on right now that kill enough viruses, and then each milestone you get a reward for it. So I think Nintendo's kind of getting their bearings all greased up and functioning well with their mobile stuff. So it'll be fun to have like a mobile Mario Kart that I can just play, when I'm just okay, nothing's happening right now, let's do a few races.
Yeah, and there's
Just
a lot
hold
of
my
incentive
phone.
just to keep it installed and pop it open because, every couple of weeks there's going to be a new track to play.
Yeah.
I wonder how long or how far that's going to extend because that seems like an awful amount of work.
Right.
Or awful huge amount of work. But, I mean, that said, I'm excited and I'll definitely be playing it when it comes out on the 25th.
Yeah.
Other mobile game that came out, Pokemon Masters, which has had quite a bit of buzz behind it, has surpassed 10 million downloads in just 4 days. Not much of a surprise for this series, but it's good to see that it's getting support.
For sure.
It's neat. It's 3v3 battles. It's a gacha style system where you collect famous trainers throughout the Pokemon games. You start off having Brock and Misty, and then you can start spending in-game currency or pay to get that in-game currency and then roll for some new characters.
Mm-hmm.
The battle system's kind of interesting. It's like a real-time system where it's, like I said, it's 3v3, and all of your Pokemon target the same Pokemon. So you tap on the Pokemon from the opponent's team that you want to target, and then your Pokemon can attack with cooldowns. So you tap the attack will cool down, and then you can attack again. So there's no turns. It's all real time. It's kind of interesting. It uses assets from the actual Pokemon game, so the Pokemon models are ripped right out of 3DS games and stuff. So they look great. All the trainers are brand new 3D models. They've never had them before because most of them used to just be 2D sprites.
Right.
Excuse me. Overall, the presentation's really impressive for this one. I know it's like a joint effort between Dina and Game Freak, and you can really tell they put a lot of time and effort into it. I haven't gotten too deep into it yet because the battle system is still kind of hard for me to get my head around because you have to pay attention to a lot of things at the same time, and that's hard for a small-minded individual like myself. But I'll keep trying and give you more feedback as I get further in the game.
Yeah.
More statistics. UK. Platinum Games' Astral Chain entered the charts at number 1. That's pretty big news for just a fresh off the boat IP.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it helps that it's Platinum Games. This style of game is very much their forte. And I honestly, I feel like it has like a style that makes sense for that region, like like visual style and all that other stuff, and it's certainly like, it's a Nintendo exclusive, but then it's very much just it's Platinum Games
Doing their thing.
and actually going back to talking very briefly about like Bayonetta 3, like the fact that we had Astral Chain coming out before Bayonetta 3 and then both being from Platinum Games. I think that's one of the big reasons we haven't heard more about Bayonetta 3.
Yeah,
and now
sense.
that Astral Chain is out, I think it will be a very short period of time until we start hearing about Bayonetta 3 again.
Yeah, for sure. And for some additional context, the highest charting game that Platinum has ever had before this was Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance in 2013, coming in at number 2. So this is actually record-breaking for them.
Oh, yeah, this is solid. And it makes me just that much more excited to actually get my hands on this game.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's kind of a sleeper hit. Like, people were excited for it when it was first revealed in that direct, but then then we started approaching launch, and things were kind of quiet. Nintendo was tweeting about it a whole lot, but then the game dropped, and then the critics were just like lavishing this game in praise.
Yeah, I figured this was what was gonna happen. Like, I figured it was gonna get a lot more buzz once it actually like got around release time. Because again, it's Platinum. Chances are the game's gonna be great, and man, those visuals, I cannot wait to actually play the game. Very excited. Other than the fact that you play as a cop, but I'm not gonna be too stingy with my enjoyment of games. Oh well.
A game I'm looking forward to, at least I think I am, I haven't quite decided yet, is Ukulele and the Impossible Lair, which has a release date of October 8th.
Yeah, I think I might be more excited for this game than you are.
I'm becoming more excited as the day goes on. Like, we had this conversation earlier where it's just like I don't know how to feel because I was burned so bad by the first one.
Yeah.
but it looks really good.
Yeah, they pull it back like it's 2D. I love the structure. Like when they first showed it off and they talked about how like, hey, like yeah, this impossible layer you have to get through. You can get through it from the beginning, but it's going to be uber hard. And if you go through all this other stuff before it, it's going to make it easier, you know? So in a lot of ways, it felt very like Breath of the Wild esque, you
Hmm.
know. It's like, yeah, you can go straight to the boss. It might be like a lot harder because you're not all buffed up, and you know, if you haven't beaten all of the things individually, like that's gonna build up at the end of the boss fight. And so, kind of taking like a similar approach, except making this like one longer, uber hard like level. Um, and then being like, okay, it's going to doing other parts of the game is going to augment that. But if you just want to try as hard as you can just to get through that one level, you can beat the game, you know. So I, yeah, just and then also I think the mechanics obviously remind me a lot of Donkey Kong Country, specifically like returns and tropical freeze. Um, and I'll take those mechanics. You
Yeah,
know,
I don't think anybody's complaining that they look a little similar. As far as I'm concerned, that's a good thing because
yeah,
Ukulele tried to be similar to BanjoKazooie, and it was in a lot of ways, and a lot of those ways maybe weren't the right ways.
yeah,
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. It's coming out a lot sooner than I was expecting. Like between reveal to launch, it's a pretty short amount of time, which is kind of cool. Like with Ukulele, we had to sit through the entire campaign, wait for the game to be developed. It's such a excruciating wait. So this is a lot more understandable and easier to digest.
yeah. I hope this game does well. It feels kind of like a stopgap between
Ukulele.
now and an eventual like Ukulele 2. Um, and then also it gives them a chance to do something a little bit more low key. Maybe rehabilitate Ukulele a little bit
Yeah.
from the first game. Not that like the first game should like totally discredit the team, because they're obviously very talented team, you know. But obviously having some restrictions with the first game in terms of budget and time and just all those things. But now they seem like they're a more established studio, and hopefully this just gives them a little bit more time to say like, yeah, we're still working on a sequel, and this is something that we'd like to really, really make, that much better. And I think they'll be better for it.
If they're
I
anything
that
like they were back in the Banjo days, they will announce the sequel to Ukulele at the end of the Impossible Lair.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool. Um, yeah, and I think even with this, like the fact that Impossible Lair is coming out, like it's got me kind of re-interested in going back and playing Ukulele, even with all of its flaws, um, because I feel like there probably is still a certain amount of that game that is certainly worth experiencing. You know.
The game
Um,
starts off really strong and it just gets worse as you go. So like I think there's a point where you can just stop playing and say, "Yeah, this was a good experience for what it was," and just put it down.
yeah.
Uh, Hopefully that experience doesn't reign true with the Impossible Lair, but from what it looks like, I think we're in for a good one this time.
Right.
Quickly, Untitled Goose Game is coming to Nintendo Switch this month, and I think it's the same day as Link's Awakening.
That's okay. I mean, I imagine this game will probably be a lot cheaper than Link's Awakening.
Well, it's kind of funny
Uh,
because like the point of Goose Game is to be a jerk goose. So
yeah.
like coming out on the same day as Link's Awakening is kind of like fitting perfectly into that, you know, that character identity of being a jerk. Because like now you got to split your wallet a couple ways. He's being a jerk to Link. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. I still we've talked about like the actual branding for this game and how they're still calling it Untitled Goose Game, and at this point I'm pretty convinced like this is going to be the official title, like it is the official title.
Comes out in 2 weeks. I imagine it has to be now.
And I feel like it works in several regards. One, I think it's just absolutely hysterical. And two, I think it's kind of like a remix of like, oh, it's like Goat Simulator, Untitled Goose Game,
Mm-hmm.
the definitive Goose experience. Uh, so I'm actually really really excited for this, and I'd love to actually, love to play through this.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. I'm pretty excited for that. But something I wasn't expecting to be excited for because I had no idea it was coming was the announcement of Shovel Knight Dig, the sequel to Shovel Knight. I am
Is it like a
so
true
excited.
sequel or is it more of like a spin off?
I think it fits that mold a little bit more because I believe it has new gameplay that doesn't so much follow the formula of the first game, but they are treating it as the sequel to Shovel Knight.
Yeah, okay.
So like it involves you going underground and digging paths. It's kind of like SteamWorld Dig, though I'm assuming it will be a more linear designed game than SteamWorld Dig. You have a new enemy, a new villain, 16-bit graphics. They've upgraded from their 8-bit original style.
Yeah.
It seems like the natural step forward.
Man, I can't believe it's been so long since that game first came out.
I know, yeah, it's been forever.
And then like they just kept kept releasing content. Like how many different campaigns? Like
We're
how many
still waiting for King of Cards.
yeah, like how many essentially how many games Shovel Knight games have there been? You know?
5.
Yeah. So I mean that's kind of what it feels like. It's not just that like, oh yeah, Shovel Knight is a game. It's like, okay, there's 5
Shovel
different
Knight
games.
is an anthology.
Yeah.
Because, let's see, the Yacht Club Games had their own direct, by the way. This is where this was announced. They also gave us, I think, a release date for Shovel Knight King of Cards, as well as Shovel Knight Showdown, which is the multiplayer versus mode, which is also essentially its own game, bringing the grand total and treasure trove to 5. And now we have Shovel Knight Dig on the way. And I can't be any more excited than I already am because I love that original game. I love the characters. I'm so excited.
Yeah, Yacht Club's been killing it. I mean, Shovel Knight has some representation in Smash Bros. I mean,
He's an assist
that's
trophy.
absolutely incredible.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, they've been killing it.
Since they upgraded to like the 16-bit visuals, I hope with Shovel Knight 3 that we get like lo-fi and 64 style graphics. With a
Could you
3D
imagine
platformer.
actually getting like a 3D like platformer-esque
Dude,
like Shovel Knight?
I would love that. It's like the perfect thing. It's
Man.
like, Shovel Knight was designed to be kind of a retro throwback to like DuckTales / Mega Man type games. And I don't know entirely where they're fitting Shovel Knight Dig into that yet, but if they follow that trend, then we need to make the next Super Mario 64, the next Banjo, the next licensed 3D platformer game for classic style systems. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. I was not expecting to get a sequel to Shovel Knight. I honestly thought that Yacht Club was just going to make something new. Not that this isn't new, but a new IP.
Yeah, it looks like they're still very much on the and honestly this is again, this is okay because I feel like it changes up the formula just enough to really make it interesting. And then I think it contributes like to the identity of the character as well. Like it's Shovel Knight. Of course you're gonna have a game that's really focused on digging,
Yeah.
kind of really differentiating itself from its inspirations. I remember when it came out, there was a lot of comparisons to DuckTales, you know, And so really making and developing its own identity. Not that it hasn't with like 5 campaigns, but I think this is a smart move.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with that, that brings us to the end of Nintendo Stuff number 52. I know we had a lot to talk about because, you know, we've been gone for a few weeks. We have a Direct coming tomorrow. Depending on how that Direct goes, we may or may not just have our next episode tomorrow. I know you work, right, Logan?
Yeah, but only until 8:30.
Okay, so we could do a late episode if we have to. All right, I think that does it. So stay tuned. We'll let you know what's going on tomorrow. We would live react to the show, but unfortunately, we both work, so that's not going to happen. But you will hear what we have to say about the Direct and all the things that get announced in it. So tune in tomorrow for when all that happens, and until then, don't break your backs. Break in the games. But for now, break time is over.